قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad, coming to you live every Saturday between Maghrib and Isha here in Mecca region. As usual, we'll take 3 questions from your emails, and then we will take your live calls bi'idhnillahi azza wa jal. So our first question from the emails is from a sister, and she says, what are the conditions under which a wife can ask for a divorce according to Sharia? So marriage is a sacred bond between a man and a woman. It's not between a man and a man. And definitely it's not between a woman and a woman. This is a natural thing. It's a religious thing in all religions, that it's between a man and a woman. And this bond is tied with the name of Allah and according to the Sharia. And therefore, to dissolve it, that would be a heinous crime unless there's just a legitimate reason and justification for that. And this is why when Harut and Marut, the angels, were sent to test the people, and they told them, do not learn from us, because if you learn from us, we teach you black magic, and that would take you out of the fold of Islam. We are a test from Allah. Don't learn from us. The devils learn from them, as mentioned in verse 102, chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah. They learn from them what they separate between a man and his woman. And this shows you how bad black magic is, to the extent that Allah mentioned one of the negative consequences of it is that it separates between a man and his wife. Therefore, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu, any woman who asks for divorce without a legitimate reason would not enter paradise. And that is a serious threat. So a woman cannot just, simply because she is on her menses or she doesn't feel good and she says, I don't want you, طلقني, divorce me. This is not valid. And this is a heinous major sin, unless there are justifications, legitimate reasons in Islam. What are they? In short, if there is harm on the woman, then she can ask for divorce. What kind of harm? Real harm. If the man is a psycho, he refuses her to leave the house. He refuses her to speak to anyone on the phone. She doesn't watch anything halal, not use the internet. And he is keeping her as a prisoner of war. This is totally haram. This is real harm, and she can ask for divorce. If he prevents her from seeing her parents and relatives, she can ask for divorce. If he is having rage fits and he has bad moral conduct, he's abusive, his words are really hurtful, he always criticizes her, makes fun of her looks and her cooking, and abuses her and curses her and swears at her, she can ask for divorce. If he is really ugly and she's unable to look at his face, as is in the hadith of Thabit ibn Qais, where his wife could not look at him, and she said, had I not feared Allah, I would have spitted in his face whenever I look at him, because of his ugliness. This is a legitimate reason. If she feels from herself that she's unable to give him his rights, whether in intimacy or obedience, and that would make her a renegade and would take her out of the fold of being a loyal, obedient, submissive wife, that is a major sin. So in order to avoid such sin, she goes for divorce. This is permissible. If he's impotent or is unable to fulfill and satisfy her in terms of intimacy, if he does not provide for her financially, and he is using her as a sugar daddy, and she is the one who works and provides for the house, very legitimate reasons for divorce and so on. But if she asks for divorce for no reason, I don't like him, he doesn't take me to Côte d'Azur every year, he doesn't change the furniture every 6 months, I just have doubts that he has a haram relationship. No proof, but it's just my gut feeling. No, this is totally prohibited, and so on. The second question is from Sidra. And Sidra says, is it permissible to be a cosmetic surgeon where you operate on patients with deformities or reconstruction surgeries, and also only for beauty enhancement? The first two is halal. What do you mean by that? When there are patients with deformities, patients with a sixth finger, or a lip that looks like a rabbit, it has something, or a nose that is so awkward and bad that people resent it, and it's not natural at all. If someone has a birthmark that totally destroys the way he or she looks, it's a deformity. It's not something that is natural or can be accepted. In this case, yes, you can change this because you're restoring what the nature of that person is. You are rebuilding it to be normal and removing the abnormalities. Likewise, if there is a need for reconstruction surgery, someone who underwent an accident, was severely burnt, we need to change the skins, the structure of the jaws, something to fix it up and restore what was before as norm, there is no problem in that. The third one is not permissible, and that is to enhance the beauty. So a woman wants to enhance her beauty, not to restore the natural looks, but no, actress so and so, I like her figures. I'd like to have similar figures. I'd like to have her facial features, cheekbones, the nose, the lips, and the whole 9 yards. All of such enhancement and beautification is not permissible, and is changing the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Finally, Amina says, can girls become lawyers since becoming judges is not permissible? What is the definition of, or what is the job description of a lawyer? A judge rules with Sharia or with other than what Allah has revealed. And this is a major sin, and it can be blasphemous and taking the person out of the fold of Islam. As per ayah 44, 45, and 47 in chapter 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ الظَّالِمُونَ الْفَاسِقُونَ. So it depends. And this is not the time to explain that in details. A judge, a Muslim ruler, or a ruler who puts laws and Sharia against the Sharia of Allah. Now, a lawyer is neither. Why? A lawyer is an advocate, is a representative, is an agent. So he represents me in whatever I tell him to represent me in. Therefore, we do need lawyers when a person is entitled and required to pursue his rights. Someone stole my money. Someone broke a contract. Someone banged into my car and there was a car accident. There were injuries. I need compensation. Someone was accused unlawfully of a crime. I defend him. I represent him. I prove to the judge and to the public that he's innocent. I manage it to help him acquire his rights. So I'm representing him. This is halal. I'm not ruling, I'm not judging, I'm not legislating anything other than what Allah has revealed Azza wa Jal. Therefore, the occupation and the job of a lawyer depends on case-by-case scenario. So if what you're doing is to help someone in getting his lawful rights, this is totally halal and permissible. And you can do that, but without any transgression. So he's entitled for $10,000, you get him the $10,000. In some kafir country, you're entitled to sue him for $1 million. That's not halal. That's not Sharia compliant. You know that he is accused of being a drug dealer, and he is a drug dealer. You can't defend him, even if the law permits it, because you know that he is a criminal. So you are preventing this criminal from doing time and serving his sentence. And you're helping him continue his crimes against humanity and the community. This is not permissible. So it depends from case to case, but generally speaking, a woman to become a lawyer, alongside what I've said earlier, is required to abide by the hijab, not to free mix, not to be alone in seclusion with non-mahram. If she can do all of this, for instance, a woman lawyer working in a law firm and preparing the papers for the lawyers to go and present it to the court. So she's in the back bench, or it's not the back bench, in the back office maybe. Yeah, that would be fine. But if she is to go in front of the judge, in front of everybody else, and to prosecute, and to defend, and to speak publicly, this is not permissible, and Allah knows best. Shihab from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam to Allah.
Sheikh, the Imam of our masjid said, it is halal only if a tabiz is written by the verse of Quran and Hadith. But he added that each Arabic letter can be represented by a specific number. So if we don't write the actual verse, rather we write the numbers which is representing the verse, then it is also halal to wear that tabiz. So can I pray behind this, Imam, Sheikh?
Shihab Bhai, didn't you ask me this question on my website yesterday?
That was, I think, a bit different question.
Okay, this was a similar question, and the answer is no. This is not permissible to be done. Saying that wearing ta'weedh made only from Quran is a weak opinion. And some say that this is the opinion of Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, but this is not true. And this is why we would not say that this is shirk. We would say, okay, this is a weak opinion, it's not permissible. To add the hadith to it, this is not permissible. To go a little bit overboard and write numbers, so saying letter A is for 1, letter W is for 15, and we put numbers. This is what soothsayers and magicians do. So definitely if the Imam does this, you must not pray behind him, and Allah knows best. Abdullah from Japan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I just wanted to ask you this one. The Masjid Ayatan has its own, quote unquote urf. Right after the prayer ends, our Imam starts reciting Ayatul Kursi, then some other adhkar, and then dua, and finishes with a recitation of some Quran. So my question is, do I have to remain in my place and listen to his recitation and then do my own adhkar, or can I just move a little further away from him and then, do my adhkar and other things? Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. So basically, Abdullah's question is about what the Imam does after conclusion of his prayer. He does the adhkar and he makes few du'as, recites the Quran loudly. And most likely the congregation either listens to him or repeats with him or repeats after him. Most likely, if you ask him, did the Prophet ﷺ ever do such a thing? And he would say, nope, never. So this is an innovation. Why are you doing this? He said, no. The Prophet had never done such a thing, but because we are here in Japan and most people don't know these adhkar, so I'm saying it loudly so that they can learn it. Now, if you said this once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime, maybe I would accept this. But saying it after every fard prayer and for the rest of your life, this means that you're innovating. And the Prophet had never done such a thing, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, nor did his companions, nor did the tabi'een, nor did the tabi'it tabi'een. So definitely, either you know more than them, or you have committed an innovation. What is my role? Your role is not to join them. And I would definitely, if I were there, the moment the salat is over, I would stand and leave to the end of the masjid so that people would see me not being with them in this innovation. If he was sincere, he would have taught them one by one these adhkar on a blackboard, and they repeat it after him one by one, not in congregation after salat. No, he dedicates a class to do that, and Allah knows best. Aisha from Japan as well. MashaAllah. Assalamu wa barakatuh.
In my country, which is Uzbekistan, on birth certificates with the first name, we all get both fathers and grandfathers' names together. This is actually the tradition that have been in use in my country since the occupation of USSR. And while addressing to someone, they always call him with grandfather's name as a surname, but father's name is not mentioned. For example, Abdullah Aisha Aliyuna. So Abdullah here is grandfather's name and Ali is father's name, which is present only in documentations. What happens is that while getting married legally, girls change their grandfather's name to that of her future to-be husband's grandfather's name. So my friend was saying, like, we are not changing father's name as it's mentioned in the hadith. My question is this act permissible in Islam? Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa jazakum. This is totally impermissible. In Islam, our religion, Islam, that is accused of oppressing women and subjugating them, is the only religion, to my knowledge, at the moment, at our contemporary times, that insists that a woman keeps her name, her father's name, her grandfather's name, her tribe's name, and not to be associated to her husband in her lineage. And I've mentioned this on Twitter a couple of times, and I was shocked by the amount of ignorant people who come to justify their present situation. Lots of women from different countries in Africa and Europe because they've already changed their names to their husbands' names. So they are followers of their husbands in that sense. They started claiming that no, this is un-Islamic, it has nothing to relate to Islam. And some even would mention the fact that Aisha, al-Mu'mineen, the wife of the Prophet. They've said that she's the wife of the Prophet. Akhi, this is different than saying Aisha Muhammad or Aisha Al-Hashim, for example. This is totally different. Aisha has her lineage, and never in her name is mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, and he's the Prophet ﷺ. So yes, it is totally not permissible to change your father's name from Aisha, daughter of Ali, into Aisha, your husband is Chaudhry, for example. No, not permissible. Okay, Sheikh, we kept my husband's name, but Abdullah, who's my grandfather, we would like to change it to Abdul Rahman, who is the grandfather of my husband. Again, this is totally prohibited. Okay, what about the final tribal name? We'll call him Khan, or we'll call him Komar, or we'll call him the Uzbekistani, or whatever. Still, keep your name and your lineage and your tribe intact without changing anything. This is how Islam, or one of the ways how Islam honors women. Unlike in the West or in the East, the moment she gets married, she dumps her father's name and her tribe's name, and she sticks her husband's name to hers, and this is not permissible at all. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. After which Abu Bakr began to weep and say, and is my life and wealth for anything besides you, O Messenger of Allah? This narration shows the level of etiquette and humbleness that Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, had in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For he likened himself to a slave of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying that his wealth was only for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as his soul and self. This comes as no surprise, for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has more right on the believers than themselves. He, may Allah be pleased with him, spent his wealth in the cause of Allah, and he consoled the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through his own self. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognized that for him and said, in order to build his stature and to remind the ummah of his virtues, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. Among the benefits of this narration, it is important to keep good manners and humbleness in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thanking someone who has bestowed some favor on you, as well as supplicating for them, is part of having good manners. Reported by Al-Bukhari, reported by Al-Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah. Albani ruled it authentic in his book Sahih Al-Jami', the explanation of As-Sindi on the book of Ibn Majah, and At-Taysir Bisharh Al-Jami' As-Saghir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Do we have any questioners? Okay, Farouk from Qatar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamullah.
So my question is that does praying rak'atan with intention of Salat al-Duha at the time of Duha fulfill the obligation of of giving a charity for every limb in the body?
Okay, so Faruq is referring to a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that any day the sun rises, there is a charity upon each and every bone on a man's body, which is approximately, if I recall correctly, 360 joints or bones. And saying a good word is a charity. Helping your brother in need is a charity. Filling the bucket with water of your brother is a charity. Enjoining virtue and righteousness and forbidden evil is a charity, etc. And something that sums all these things up is praying 2 rak'ah of duha. And if you do pray these 2 rak'ahs, you have sufficed your obligation of such daily charities. So to answer your question is yes, 2 rak'ahs of duha suffices from offering these charities of over these 360 joints of your body, and it does the job, insha'Allah. Muhammad from the US.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My question is, so for example, my mother, she has a school. She established a school maybe like 10 years ago. And now she receives grants from the government here in the US. She receives it in Islamic school. She receives grants from the government for this. Basically, the grant is for learning purposes. So she can buy anything that's for learning purposes for the school. So any learning equipment. So for example, if she tries to buy a grill and it won't work because that's obviously not for learning purposes. So the school is hers basically. It's a family business, but the grant is for the school for learning purposes. So if she buys, for example, a pair of headphones, and the grant is accepted for, basically they allow the grant to be used for a pair of headphones. Can she give me the pair of headphones or should I buy it from the school?
So the question is, when the government gives you this grant because you are the owner of a particular school, does the government restrict you from using this money for any purposes other than the school? Or they just give you the grant and they tell you it's yours, you can do with it whatever you wish?
No. They basically, the way even you order is basically you have to tell them, you have to give them a list of items and then they have to approve that list of items.
Okay, in this case, it is surely and certainly conditional grant. So the grant is only restricted to be used for the school. And hence, your mother cannot use the money to buy personal things. When she buys headsets or headphones and she gives it to you, this is for personal use. If she buys a black stone grill to do barbecue in her backyard, this is not for the school, but she's using the money to do this. This is again haram, and it's not permissible for her to do that. And I hope this answers your question. Zaki from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When I want to collect someone's wudu, do I collect the snot and spit? And in the hadith, what does wetting the garments mean? Whose garments is it? And is the water poured on the head? And if someone doesn't use a lot of water in wudu, is it and not much? Do you collect all the water on his head?
Wajazakum. This is something that we don't have specifics of. So this is why some scholars went to the generalization aspect and saying that no, you don't collect the spit and the snort of a person who is making wudu for you, because the hadith is just speaking about washing the face, the hands, the feet, and the inside of the garment. What is meant by the inside of the garment? So my t-shirt, the inside of it, which touches my skin, this is to be washed. And the water that washes that area from my t-shirt is to be collected. And again, this is something of ijtihad. We don't have specific details of how this has been done. The symbolic way of just washing the hands, the arms, the face, without anything that might be unhygienic, and the inside of the garment, that is the one I have described to you, and Allah knows best. Sabira from India. Sabira?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam. Yes.
Sheikh, if a person has any type of incontinence and they cannot predict when their incontinence will begin and stop, can this person pray at the beginning time for each salah? Because if this person goes to the bathroom to clean, change and make wudu about 20 minutes before each salah time ends, they usually miss praying every salah within the time and due to their waswasa problem.
Okay, first of all, Sabira, a person who has incontinence, whether it's urine, whether it's gas, one of two. Either this person is certain that he will be leaking 24/7 and there won't be a proper time for him to clean himself, make wudu and pray without having anything that invalidates his wudu. If this is the case, this person can pray anytime he wishes, whether in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the time. Whenever he wants, he changes his clothes, cleans himself, performs wudu, and pray, regardless of what comes out of him, because it won't impact his wudu. Second person is a person who knows for certain that there will be a period of half an hour that nothing will come out. And I'm certain of that, and I know that this is going to come. In this case, this person is ordered not to perform wudu until his incontinence ceases and stops. Then he cleans himself and performs wudu and prays normally. A third person is someone who's hesitant. Most likely, he believes that it's not going to stop. It may stop once every blue moon for 15 minutes. But when we tell him to let it run until the end of time, that will cause a lot of hardship, and sometimes it will make him miss salat due to such hardship. In this case, due to what most likely is going to happen, we tell this person, yes, you can perform wudu at the beginning of the time, and after cleaning yourself and changing your soiled clothes and praying, and inshallah your prayer is valid, and Allah knows best. Tanveer from India.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have a question regarding reciting Surah Baqarah so to avoid entering Shaitan into the house. Can I recite the whole surah, some part of it in the first day, then some in the second day, and some in third day, and thus complete this one?
The most authentic opinion, Tanveer Bhai, is that you have to recite Surah Al-Baqarah during the day. So you can recite half of it in the morning and the other half in the afternoon or before Maghrib without any problem. You can divide it, but not on different days. The good news is that the Prophet told us ﷺ, that reciting two ayahs, the last two ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, from آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون till the end, two ayahs only, will prevent the devils from entering your house for 3 days and nights. And these two ayahs, each and every Muslim memorizes them by heart. because we recite them as part of the bedtime adhkar. So each and every Muslim recite these 2 ayahs, along of course with Ayat al-Kursi, before we go to bed every single night. And the Prophet said, whoever recites them, alayhi salatu wassalam, whoever recites them at night, they will suffice him. What is meant? Some scholars say they will suffice him as form of protection from the devils. The second interpretation is it will suffice him from offering night prayer. Either way, you should not leave reciting these 2 verses every single night, and Allah knows best. Faizan from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
غفر الله والديك ورحمك الله.
Walakum.
So Sheikh, my question is, there is an online educational course consisting of video lectures which is paid. So I bought it. Now, after some time, it will expire. So I saw that some people pirated their videos and uploaded them on YouTube. So after my course expires, can I watch those videos as they are present on YouTube, or is it must that I rebuy it?
It seems to me that as long as you did not hack this course and that you have paid for it fully, that you can watch these videos without any problem, inshallah. Ishraq from Singapore.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, my question is for an explanation of the verse in Surah Tin. لَقَدْ خَلَقَنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We have created man in the best of form. So one of the possible explanations that I've heard of is that, for example, our eyes are at its place and our nose at its place and so on. And if it's somewhere else, if they are somewhere else, then we won't be how we are. But likewise, for other animals, these are also in place. They are functioning, and they have Allah created them in a way that they are performing at their best. But we also see that humans have some are born with defects, or those people who are handicapped and so on. So I'm just requesting you to maybe explain this verse so that I can understand it better. Jazakallahu khair.
Wa jazakum. So this is mentioned in Surah At-Tin, and as I usually refer to the tafsir, I don't usually give things out of my own head. And yes, Allah Azza wa Jal stated, as according to tafsir of Al-Baghawi and As-Sa'di, that Allah Azza wa Jal has created mankind in a perfect form, that everything symmetrically is in place. He is standing still, and he does not miss anything that he needs, whether externally or internally. And most people must show their gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal for such a blessing. Now, you cannot compare how Allah created us to how Allah created a gorilla. There is no one who would say, oh, this dinosaur was created perfectly more than a human being. The humans are the most perfect creation of Allah, the Almighty Azza wa Jal, in this sense, externally and internally. So physically, the way they look, the way everything is engineered, even the foot itself. Logically, I'm not an engineer, but usually the leg should have been in the middle of the foot so that there would be balance. But subhanAllah, the leg is way at the back, over the heel. And this is the best position so that a person can be mobile. Can be mobile, not mobile. Can be mobile and can move. Subhanallah. This is how Allah created us. So this is the perfect way. One could also say that Allah has created mankind in the perfect sense in terms of His actual nature of worshipping only Allah Azza wa Jal, of wanting to enter paradise and to be submissive to Allah and a servant to Allah. Those who refuse and follow their whims and desires and worship their sins, then they have gone to the worst of creation, and Allah knows best. CD from Germany.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Samtullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
I am fine, alhamdulillah.
Sheikh, what's the ruling on someone who is speaking and accusing someone without knowledge and evidence, but out of ignorance and assumption? What can the consequence be?
Oh, this is too generic, CD. Yani, can you be a little bit, you elaborate a little bit?
For example, there's a person, he says that this and this person is from ISIS or from this and that, and he's bad. And so, just out of assumption and ignorance.
This is slandering. And accusing people without evidence is a major sin. Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Hujurat, avoid some of the doubts because, avoid most of the doubts because some of the doubt is sinful. So just because some of it is sinful, the vast majority of doubting is prohibited upon us. And to go and throw accusations right, left, and center, it's everybody's game. Everyone can do this. I can accuse you of being a LGBTQ supporter. You said, no, I'm straight. I don't support these things and I'm a straight person. I said, no. I've seen you wearing a red shirt the other day and blue sneakers. And this means that you are this, you're that. Anyone can throw such accusations. What to do? Such ignorant people, we say, salam, and we don't argue with them. It is illogical, CD, when you walk and you get a dog barking at you. It's illogical to fall on your hands and knees and bark back. So those who accuse us of this and that, life is too short for us to stop and speak to them. Abu Ayyub al-Sakhtayani, the Sheikh of Imam Bukhari, was once approached by the head of innovation in the community, and he said, "Ya Imam, wait so I can speak to you a single word." And he said to him, "Not even half a word." And he moved on. Another one came to him and he said, "Can I speak to you for a moment?" He said to him, "Stop the sun if you can, and then come and talk to me." And he left. And they said to him, "Why don't you communicate? Why don't you argue and debate with them?" He said, "Life is too short. I'm afraid if I speak with such ignorant people that shaitan may throw a shred of doubt in my heart that would impact me at the time of death. I trust what I believe, and I believe what I've learned, so I don't have any doubts. Why would I communicate with such ignorant people? Likewise, why should we defend ourselves in front of such ignorant people?" Nohan from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is, a Madina graduate gave me a letter of recommendation willingly to apply for different Islamic universities. But the thing is, he actually doesn't know me and he never met me in person. So does this letter of recommendation fall under the major sin of giving false testimony about someone? And if it does fall under major sin, is he the one who is sinful, or would I also be sinful? Will I also be sinful if I use this for applying in different universities? Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa jazakum. First of all, a letter of recommendation is a testimony. So when I am approached by a person and he says, "Sheikh, I need a letter of recommendation to the authorities, to the university, to the government, to a man of charity to give me a loan or charity." If I write a letter of recommendation that this individual is known to me and he's known to be a good person and he prays 5 times in the masjid and has good moral conduct, and I recommend him to whatever he wants and I sign, I'm a liar. How do I recommend someone I don't know? So this Medina graduate is sinful. Now, if you go to the Medina graduate, he said, no, 2 guys came and testified that he is trustworthy. And I trust these 2 people and I know them, certainly. This is a different issue. However, personally, I would never do this, except with someone I know. Unfortunately, such universities and institutions require such a recommendation letter, and most people don't have such people that can recommend them. So they have to go to such people and ask them to intervene and maybe give such a letter. So if this is the case, I hope inshallah there's no sin if there are 2 people that he knows very well who know you and recommend you for them, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have until we meet tomorrow Sunday at 4:15 Mecca region time. I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.